Everybody in life has people that they may have dealt with or are still dealing with. Well, the Prophet ﷺ was dealing with the most stubborn people. I'm going to talk about stubborn people. I'm going to talk about people that are stubborn, that are hard to deal with. People that are not compromising. You're trying to reason with them. You're trying to talk to them. You're trying to help them understand, and they won't have it. They don't want to hear anything you have to say. In fact, they get even more stubborn and dig their heels in even more and get even more rigid in their point of view if you try to reason with them. So instead of de-escalating, they escalate further. It makes things even worse. Everybody in life has people that they may have dealt with or are still dealing with. I don't want you to look at them or point to them right now, but you're dealing with them. You find yourself at odds. Like, I tend to be a pretty good communicator. I'm able to get my message across, but for some reason with this person, I'm never able to get my point across. And even when I try to make things better, they only get worse. This person only makes things worse. They get even more stubborn. Well, the Prophet ﷺ was dealing with the most stubborn people. Like, the greatest messenger was given the toughest crowd. Like, because he's the greatest of all messengers, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the kuffar he had to deal with were some of the most rigid, tough kuffar ever in history. They may not have had the power of the Pharaoh, but they still had the arrogance of him. And he has to deal with them, and now he's giving them Quran for well over a decade. 2/3 of the Quran is coming to the Quraysh of Mecca. And the more Quran that should have been heard in their language, in ways that was loving towards them, in giving them counsel and warning them, over time that should have softened their hearts. If they started out against it, the rigidity should have chipped away at it. But instead, what do you find? You find they're getting more aggressive against the Prophet ﷺ, and then more aggressive, and then more aggressive, and then more aggressive. They're not getting better with the coming of more Quran. They're actually getting worse. And this is a scenario which the Prophet ﷺ has to deal with. It's one thing that you're talking to somebody stubborn, they don't want to hear what you have to say. So you know what, when I say, you know what? I don't think I have to deal with this person. They're impossible to talk to. I'm just going to walk away. There's no point communicating with a person like that. In fact, every time I talk to them, they are worse than the time before. And then I talk to them again, and they're worse than the 2 times before then. So this isn't going anywhere. This is totally headed in the wrong direction. I need to just get away. But what is Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told? On the one hand, أَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْجَاهِلِينَ, ignore those who get obnoxious and arrogant and ignorant with you, etc. But at the same time, he's not being given permission to just walk away from that nation. Still invite them, still recite to them, still listen to what they have to say. And some of the most arrogant things they said, some of the most obnoxious, wild, outrageous, blasphemous things that they said, Allah recorded it in the Quran by saying, وَقَالُوا, and they said, and then he would quote the horrible things they said, the arrogant things they said. And then Allah would say, now respond to them. And Allah knows better than you and I that those people who are saying these things, even the response is not going to help them. They're not going to listen to that response. But Allah is still capturing them talking, recording it, and then giving the Prophet ﷺ a response. So this deserves some thought. We have to think about what is the situation that the Prophet ﷺ actually has to deal with.